Dave here with another video. Today I want to talk about my biggest investment that generates me over $46,000 a year in passive income. Let's go ahead and get started. So that investment I'm talking about is real estate notes, okay? More specifically, promissory notes. Sometimes they're just called notes. What is that really? So basically, I'm acting as the bank. So instead of somebody going to Bank of America and getting a loan from Bank of America, I'm lending them the money for their real estate, all right? So it's essentially the same exact thing. You have a mortgage, you have a promissory note that says you're gonna pay by such and such time frame per month, and you're in default with these certain conditions and all that. So it's the standard verbiage that Fannie Mae uses in all of their mortgages and promissory notes, so it's all legit. So recently I did a video on the reasons why I got out of rental properties and moved pretty much almost all of that money into real estate notes. So I'll go ahead and link that video up the top here, and you can find out the reason why I got out of rental properties and went into notes. So let's go ahead and take a look at my notes here and just dive right into them. So here's the 8 notes I have right now, and basically I got into most of them in 2018. And they're in different states. I got some in Tennessee, one in Texas, Arizona, Florida, and Georgia. And that's kind of important because I like to spread my risk out as much as possible to different states because of natural disasters or demographics of jobless claims or jobless loss, right? So market in a recession, who knows what happens in certain states. So I do like to spread the risk out as much as possible. So that's the thinking behind that. Some of the stuff I'm just not going to talk about at all really because it's not really important. But what is important is property use, non-owner versus owner. That is super important, and I'm going to talk about that in the pros and cons later on. So recourse, not a big deal. Basically, payment type, fully amortized, which means basically it's a 30-year and a 30-year. We only have one here that was a 5-year, but it was amortization out to 30. And the terms can be specific to however you word it in the documents. But the interest rate's broken down here: 6.5, 7, 7, 6, 8.5, 7, 7, and 8.5. And LTV, which is another big one, okay? So that stands for loan to value. So we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So here's the different loans broken down: 5 years, a bunch of 15s and some 30s, and the amortization, basically, how big their payment's gonna be. We got that basically 5-year, split out by 30, so their payment's gonna be super small. Interest guarantee on all the loans except for one. They are all 3-year interest guaranteed, so if they wanted to get rid of the loan, good luck, they can't do it. They're gonna have to pay me that money anyway. There's the monthly payment, and that includes principal and interest. Interest guarantee, so like I said, interest guarantee, you just break that out, by 3 years. That's what the 3-year return would, they're gonna have to pay me no matter what before they, wanna get rid of the house. Let's scroll over a little bit here. And interest at maturity, if they hold it for their total term, which is 5 years here, 15, 15, 30, this is the total amount of interest that I would collect, which is $600,000. Most likely that's not gonna happen, so most likely it'll probably be to hold them for, 5 to 7, 5 to 8 years or so. We got that, like I said, that one top one here that has a balloon payment of $63,000. And there's the total loan amount that I loaned out for that particular loan. Got one large one here, $161,000. That specific loan is an oddball. That was a rental that turned into a carryback. I lent the person that basically rented the house out for 7 years. He wanted to buy the house, so I sold him the house. So that's the reason why there's an oddball in there in Arizona. It's shown here as owner occupied, and why the loan to value is 92%. And the interest rate is only 6%. Unfortunately, I probably couldn't have got away with 6.5 to 7, which he probably would have went just with the bank at that point. There is some advantages doing a carryback for the actual buyer, though. They don't, can skirt all of the credit check and all that stuff as well. So, that is, I have $629,000 invested into mortgage notes. That was when I got into the notes, so it actually has come down a little bit because every single month a portion of that comes off due to principal, and that generates me, the payment is actually, that's fixed at $4,800 a month. And the interest rate right now, if you take the weight of the loans and the interest rates over here, it's about 7.44% right now, which generates me about $3,800 of interest per month, which comes out to $46,797 of truly mailbox money. You talk about the most lucrative, most passive investment out there that is secured by real estate. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons of real estate notes. I'm going to go ahead and leave this spreadsheet up because I want to point to some things here. So the property use. So if you're going to get into notes, you really need to make sure that you get into the correct note, okay? So I could sell these notes, right? And they got, who knows, they could have like 7 years left on it or something like that, or they could have like 25 years on them, right? If they're making their payments and everything's up to date, then it's called a performing note, right? If they're not making their payments, that's a non-performing note, and you're going to sell it at a discount, okay? So you can sell these, you can get out of these if you wanted to, okay? And I don't have any reason to, but let's talk about the property use here. Why is that important? Non-owner versus owner. Well, the non-owner is basically an investor like me that owns rental property, right? So basically all of these 7 loans here, they're non-owner occupied, are all fellow investors, and they're renting those houses out. So they're responsible for collecting the rent, they're responsible for Capex, they're responsible for depreciation, they're responsible for cleaning those dang toilets. So, and guess what? They're responsible to pay me, not the tenants, okay? So that is why that is super important. If you're gonna get into real estate notes, then you wanna get into investment non-owner occupied notes. It is in the mortgage, okay, that they are non-owner occupied, all right? So that one there is owner occupied. Like I said, that was a tenant that I had in my house for 7 years, and he made payments and all that. So, and I talked about in another video, should he ever default on that, and they missed one payment, you can foreclose on them, okay? So technically, that's in Arizona, so it's very easy to get the house back in that state. I don't really have to go through much trouble, so I'm not too worried about it. So that's what that is there. The other thing is, we talked about just a little bit earlier, is loan to value. So with this investment, you're talking about the most passive investment, the most lucrative mailbox money that just shows up in your bank account every single month. And guess what? It's secured by real estate, all right? So what the loan to value is basically, if the house was worth $100,000, I only loan $50,000 in that house, right? So that gives me a lot of room to, if the market gets depressed or whatever, something happens, then I'm gonna get the house at a discount, or I'm gonna always be able to get my money back in either, break even at the very minimum, not to mention, I'm going to get my money back, plus I'm going to have to collect all the interest at the same time for those years, but at the very worst, I'm going to get my investment back along with all that interest they paid me for those years as well, right? So loan to value is super important if you're going to get into real estate investment notes, and I say investment meaning they're non-owner occupied. Make sure that the loan to value is anywhere from 40 to 60%. You really don't want to go higher than 60%. It really kind of depends on what area, which state it's in and what area in that state it's in. Like I said, I have one here that is that 92% because I loaned him almost all of them out. And he gave me like $7,000 down, and I'm okay with that because, like I said, it's easy to get the house back in that state. Plus, he's already paid me over $10,000 in interest. So, so that is the other thing that is super important. So let's talk about, how I get paid on these. So basically I have servicers, mortgage services out there that, just the loans are brought in there and they make the payment through the loan services, just like you'd make a payment on a house. They use a loan servicer, right? The loan servicer collects, they have an escrow. If they have an escrow set up, they'll collect taxes, they'll collect insurance and all that. Not all of my loans are set up like that. Some of the loans, it depends on whether or not they wanted to have an escrow or not. And some of the fees I pay for, it's like $15 a month or something, so it's not very much. And so they're responsible for collecting the payment, sending out notices if they're late, collecting a late fee, whatever. In addition to that, that money basically just shows up in my bank account every single month. So what are the cons of real estate notes? Well, there's really not many. The only con I can really think of is you're leaving a little bit of depreciation on the table. And a little bit could be, 2%, 1%, as high as maybe 10%, right? But I'm okay with that. I don't have to clean any single toilet. I don't have to worry about repairs. I don't have to worry about Capex. I don't have to worry about depreciation. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, and the money just shows up in my bank account. And I'm okay with that. I don't have to worry about, that little bit of appreciation I would get out about owning some rental property, right? You got to put up with a lot of extra stress owning rental property. And, there is a couple of other maybe tax benefits with owning some rental property, but this all just counts as interest. So that is taxed at a regular rate, whatever bracket you fall in. So that is, but at the same time, what your income's going to be. It's very fixed, 7.44%, which will come down slowly every single month, just a little bit, very, very little, because I have that 6% one there, the high loan. But I know what income I'm going to get every single month, and it just shows up in my bank account, zero stress whatsoever. So anyways, that is my biggest and most passive investment out there. Real estate notes. I hope this video helped you out. If you have any questions about real estate notes at all, go ahead and leave a comment below. And I do appreciate all my recent subscriber and my current subscribers as well. I hope everybody had a good weekend, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.